by me being a Gentile Christian, I'm co-heir and co-equal with Isaac, which means that I'm sure co-equal with Jacob and his boys. Galatians chapter 4, verse 20, 28, 29 tells me that I'm co-equal to Isaac. What does that mean? That means that at the same time in Genesis 12, chapter 3, Genesis 12, chapter 12, verse 3, that God promised Abraham a son in the flesh, God also promised me that I could become his son in the spirit. So that me and Isaac in the spirit, we were brothers. We were given the same power and authority at the same time. Only thing is, God didn't choose to deal with the Gentile nations of the world until Matthew or until Jesus came, which means that as a Gentile evangelist, I can skip Exodus to Malachi and won't detract one bit from anyone's plan of salvation, including the Jewish people, because they can't get to heaven until I do. There's a dual track. And if you don't know that there's a dual track to heaven that merges at Calvary's cross and Pentecost, you're not going to be teaching the real truth of the Bible. You're going to be teaching truth, but it might not be of any avail. Now, I'm going to put a visual on the screen from camera 1, and I'm going to talk about the merger now. I just told you there was 2 tracks. So now let me talk about the merger. There is a symbol on the left of the screen, which is a serpent, symbolizing a serpent on a pole. That comes from Numbers chapter 21, verses 8 and 9, where after the children of Israel had murmured against Moses and Aaron and Miriam and God, God sent fiery snakes among them. The snakes bit them and they began to die. They repented of their sins, asked Moses to intercede on their behalf. Moses went to God and asked God to remove the snakes. God says, no, Moses, I'm not going to remove the snakes, but I'm going to give them an alternative way to please me, to show their faith, obedience, and dependency on me. F-O-D, FOD. He said, you take a brass snake and put it on a pole, and whosoever have the faith and obedience and dependency on me, that I will heal him, who has the faith to look at the snake on the pole will be healed. Numbers chapter 9, verses 5 through, no, Numbers 21, verses 5 through 9. Now, Jesus used the same illustration in his relationship to the Gentile nations of the world and made it applicable to them and to the Jews. He says, just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man. There's that Son of Man. There's that Son of God. There's that Christ. There is the God. As the Son of Man, as just as Moses was lifted up lifted up the serpent on the pole in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up as he was when he was crucified in Jerusalem nearly 2,000 years ago. Why? So that anyone who have faith, F-O-D, faith, obedience, and dependency on God. Why? Because all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Jesus paid the penalty, and God gave us a second chance, gave us an alternative way to please him. And that alternative way of pleasing God is to look to Jesus for your salvation, because everyone born of a woman, they are born sinners, separated from God, and consigned to an eternal hell. And the only way to change your destination, the only way to keep from dying an eternal death, is to believe in Jesus, to see him lifted up on the pole, on the cross, as your means of salvation from the death sentence that God has imposed upon the whole human race. That's it. That's it. There's a dual track. One track for the Jewish people, another track for the Gentiles. And they merge when the gospel is heard in faith. Only one difference. As a Gentile, I have free will. And since the Jewish people had a prior relationship with God, he selects them, elects them. And then once we get regenerated, we are both elected, considered as elected. Now, well, my time is about up. It certainly has been a joy and a pleasure to talk with you today. I hope the session has been informative. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.